hip-hop song I remember in the 80s was Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang.
Right.
I think you guys play that song still?
Still, sure, of course. I mean, that bass line is just legendary. I mean, it's been used
Good Times bass line or something?
Yeah, it's been used and recycled so many times by so many different artists that even now you'll hear that same underlying track mashed up, which is basically, combining two songs, making it into one. Two well-known songs.
That was a sampled song, right?
Yeah, essentially. Okay. Combining it, with something else.
Is there a way that you can give us a sequence of the different types of genres of music?
Well, boy,
if
you're going to go into that, club music, I mean, there's so many different styles. I mean, you can't really, and a lot of it, the one thing you got to remember though is that music is subjective. So what one person might call house music is completely different to what somebody else calls house music. So it's definitely up to the individual. It also has a lot to do with circumstance and your environment, where you are, how are you feeling it, how you were feeling at the time. So, but generally, as far as what gets played in the clubs, there's always music that's kind of decade specific, 70s.
Okay.
There's 80s, but even within 80s, there's 80s pop music like Janet Jackson and Madonna. But there's
and you do spin that, right?
Sure, yeah. There's also 80s alternative or new wave, like New Order and Depeche Mode.
Okay.
There's 80s industrial, there's 80s funk, all across the board. There's so many genres. It's just, we could have a whole show just about that.
Yeah, what about like house music, techno?
Right.
Those things. When I think of DJing, I think of those kinds of genres.
Yeah.
Why do I think of that?
Well, I mean, that's just because of what you've been exposed to.
I mean, I don't think of DJing as, spinning Hall & Oates.
Right.
Per se.
Okay.
But
it is, though.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm learning.
You can spin.
You can spin. You can mix Hall & Oates. You can mix Janet Jackson.
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean,
you can mix whatever you want.
There's also, I mean, you could be a wedding DJ if you're playing weddings. You're still. It's another form of DJing. You're playing music for people for entertainment value.
Now, how did you start out? Where are you from?
Well, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Long Island.
Okay.
But then, with my start as a DJ, I was in my first year of college.
And I'll bet you you were DJing weddings, no?
Well, I did back then, not right away, but I have done anyways in the past. Sure. I cut my teeth on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started back in '88. I was in my first year of college. I was at Villanova at the time in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And it was just kind of a fluke thing. I made friends with this guy, and he happened to be a DJ. I was a pre-med student, by the way, of all things. And we just became friends. It turned out that he was a DJ, and so we hooked up, and he asked me if I wanted to try it and help out, and I'm like, sure. So my first gig was really at a college bar helping him out.
Spinning records.
Yeah.
45s, 33.
Generally 12 inches or albums.
Okay.
If we did use a 45, it was glued onto a 12 inch, so we could actually manipulate it.
Back in the day.
It's an old trick. But yeah, that's where I got my start. It was just in college, and I was playing. It was a lot different then. We were playing anything from. It was a college party, so it was a big party.
Okay.
Anything from AC/DC to Don McLean to Depeche Mode and the Cult.
Spinning American Pie.
That was like the last song of the night usually. So.
Okay. And we're talking the '80s, so you gotta understand that.
Yeah. But then Tone Loc was big around then. That just came out. The B-52s broke out with Love Shack and Young MC. So we were playing a lot of pop music mixed in with college frat rock.
Small parties, college parties.
Yeah, this was just a tiny hole-in-the-wall college bar. But then we would do frat parties around town, and he had his own equipment, and we would do some college functions and weddings once in a while. But I caught on to it really fast because I always had a feel for music, and I was always into drums. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I think that's why I was able to pick up the actual mechanics of beat matching a lot faster than most, just because I just had that, I knew what a beat was, I understood it, and I had a feeling for it as a gut thing.
And beat matching is matching the beats per minute to the next song. So if it's 120 beats, you want to match that next song with
yeah,
same
essentially.
beat.
It's
Speed.
Yeah, the same speed. Yeah,
Same
the
speed.
tempo of the music. Right.
Right, okay.
So
And
you're keeping things going from one to the next.
right, you never want to stop that.
Right.
Will you take a song that's maybe at 120 and find a song at 130 and kind of move it up a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Keep
You
the
can.
crowd going a little
Yeah,
bit.
and with the technology today, I mean, a lot of DJing, it's always been associated with technology, especially in the last 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, with the technology that we have today, we're pretty much using computers and laptops instead of carrying vinyl records around.
Absolutely.
You know, so
We went from vinyl to what, CD?
well, I always had CDs in my show. You know, I always used CDs. It was just another medium for music. So, you know, there's certain things you couldn't get on CD on vinyl.
Did it make it easier?
What, using CDs?
I mean, we're going to talk about the
Not necessarily.
sophisticated system that you have, but did it make it easier? No.
Did what?
Did having the CDs make it easier than the vinyl, or you're still using the vinyl?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, CDs, the way I look at it, you know, CD or vinyl, either way, they both have their pros and cons, but either way, it was just another medium for playback. You know, it was just another tool in my box,
Okay.
you know, to be able to use either or. So I don't necessarily have a preference when it comes, you know, if I had to do one or the other, I could. I prefer using the traditional vinyl style interface. Now, it's not like I said, you know, we'll have to, I'll explain more when we get over to the rig, because it's not necessarily just about what do you like better, vinyl or CD, but as far as what we're doing, the mechanics of it, it's kind of what interface do you prefer? Do you like manipulating the music with the CD interface, or do you like
Digitally?
vinyl interface?
Now,
well, it's all digital anyway.
It's digital anyway, okay.
But it's kind of an analog feel, so it's
And you like the analog feel
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
of moving and spinning or whatever you...
Yeah, it's just kind of manipulation. It's very hands-on. It's
Right.
tactile. You know, you get to touch it and feel
Exactly.
it. You know, it's, you know. But again, you know, there's certain things that you can do with a CD player that you can't do with vinyl, and vice versa. But those gaps are really, you know, narrowing these days because of the technology that we have.